Hi there, just want to do a little video just following the tragic news that we've all heard over the weekend and talk a little bit about mental health and online abuse, which unfortunately I do have experience of. I'm not going to edit this. These give me the fear, as some of you won't know, and I may digress, I may pause. It may be the most horrendous video, but please do bear with me. As some of you will know, our eldest daughter Megan has had quite a torrid time over the past few years with an eating disorder, anxiety, depression and suicidal thoughts. This all started through bullying at school, somebody calling her fat, which she has never been in the slightest, and social media was just taken off then. So it was following her home. She wasn't even getting any peace at home for it, because it just gives, social media just gives bullies another platform to hound you. And where Megan should have felt safe in home, she wasn't, because she was constantly reminded. And the more you try and tell somebody not to look, not to respond, they'll do the complete opposite. I have been there. So we found Megan was making herself sick after meal times. We heard this a couple of times. The first time you're never 100% sure, so you kind of keep an eye on meal times, you know, how she's eating, if she's eating at all. And one of her friends had made a comment about how she felt that she had lost a little bit of weight. And when you're with somebody constantly, sometimes you don't notice it as much. So by the second time, we thought, right, enough's enough. I made an appointment for the doctors. She had a pain in her ribs, so I made out we were going to the doctors about that. So I was probably called all sorts when we got there, and obviously I explained to the doctor that we'd heard her making herself sick. So that was in the February. The doctor had referred us to CAMHS, which anybody involved in the CAMHS process will know that it's waiting list upon waiting list. And seems to take forever. It's just a lack of resource and a lack of funding, which really needs to change. It's about time that the government put more money into mental health. So that was the February, as I said. By the end of June, beginning of July, we got an appointment to go and see CAMHS, which was quite local, which was fantastic. They sat us down, explained the process, and explained we'll probably get added to another waiting list, which we kind of expected. After they had done a few tests with Megan, they were quite concerned and told us that we wouldn't be put on another waiting list, and that they were pushing us to get to see the psychologist, which we did within a week. We were also told that the day therapy unit would be the best place for her. And again, there was a waiting list, but they were going to do their best to see what they could do. And again, within another week, she was in the day therapy unit. Within a day of being in the day therapy unit, we got a phone call to say that she had to be admitted to hospital because she really needed medical help. And again, she had been in overnight. We got a phone call from the doctor at the hospital in Edinburgh, and he advised that he was going to be speaking with Megan to get her consent to insert a feeding tube. It had got that serious. If she had not consented, we were going to have to override that decision as her parents. Which kind of gives you the fear, because you do anything obviously to keep your child alive and safe, but ultimately you know they're going to hate you if you have to override their decision. Luckily for us, Megan agreed to it, and they inserted the feeding tube, which she had in for a few days. She ended up being in hospital for around 6 weeks, and she got home a couple of nights where we were able to, work on meal plans and see how we worked with that, if we needed any help with that, and how, if we were ready for Megan to come home, which obviously you want your child to be at home. I'm not going to lie, it was tough when she came home, following meal plans, making sure she didn't leave our sight after a main meal for an hour with a snack. It was half an hour. And when you've got a toddler and another child in the house, obviously you're trying to protect them. and you're trying to make things as simple as possible. But it was tough, a really tough time. Obviously, Megan eventually became what they class as a healthy weight. But with the eating disorder, obviously comes, other mental health issues, and she found she was very anxious with things. She was finding herself depressed, and she attempted to take her own life 4 times. Every time we phoned the hospital, it was a case of how many tablets has she taken, what is her weight, because that determined whether or not they had to see her, if it was serious enough. The 4th attempt, we had to get an ambulance to come and take her to hospital. I had got that serious, but we were one of the lucky ones. We have just recently celebrated her 21st birthday. She graduated last year in her acting and performance. She graduated with the HND in that. Her confidence has grown. She's had a couple of parts in small films. She's been asked to audition for things. So the way she's managed to turn that around, some days she has bad days still. She's never going to be fully out the bit. But the way she's dealt with it, she's overcome it. She's achieved so much, literally bursting with pride. As I say, we're one of the lucky ones. We still have our daughter. And it's not that case for some. And it can be through people's actions, people's words online. People really need to have to think, before they type something. If that was aimed at you or someone you love, would that be acceptable? And if you cannot answer yes, do not type it. Simple as. It's really that easy. Unfortunately, I've had my own issues with online abuse, face-to-face, emails, just through doing a role that I absolutely loved. I was absolutely honoured to be elected on to the board of the football club I've supported since I was 8 years old. It's my passion. I absolutely love my football, love the club. It's a chance for me to socialise. I've made great friends through the football. It's not just about the 90 minutes. It's time to spend with my 2 youngest girls because they come to football with me. It was my stepdad's team. Obviously, if it wasn't for him, I would never have supported the team that I do. And it was just unfortunate that he had sadly passed away and didn't get to see me be elected onto the board as a fans rep, because I know it would have made him proud. For me, it's a massive personal achievement and greatly honoured to be able to represent supporters. But taking on that role, I knew I was going to be scrutinised. I knew it was going to be, there was going to be things said about me. 13,500 season tickets plus all the other supporters. Everyone's got a voice. Everyone's got an opinion. Sometimes they aren't the same opinions, and sometimes what supporters want and what's right for the football club at the time can sometimes be 2 completely different things. Within 6 months into the role, I started receiving online abuse. It was just constant. You're mentioned, on Twitter, Facebook, you're in groups, you're writing something, and that person's just there just to create animosity. And then other people jump in. So you've got friends that are jumping in to kind of protect you, and you're thinking, don't get involved because it's only going to affect you. I've had friends threatened. I've lost friends. I've also made really good friends and friends for life who have completely got my back. I was going to go on a supporters bus once to then be told that what could possibly go wrong with me being on the bus, insinuating that it would only cause trouble and God knows where that could lead to. A bus that I was taking my 2 younger children on. To which led to friends saying, we will meet you at the gates at that game, we'll make sure you and the kids get in safely. I'm not wanting to go to a match and not feel safe. I'm a tough cookie. I can take it, but when you have two children that you have to keep safe, I know who that person was, but then you get people jumping in that maybe agree with them, so that you don't know, but they know who you are. I also went through a phase where I was receiving emails from someone that I didn't know, that mentioned other people. I would get them before a match day. I was going to have a banner with my name on it, which apparently I would like because I like my name in lights, and I like the attention, which anyone that knows me, I even hate having my photo taken. This is why this gives me the fear. You know, that there was going to be a petition with my name on it. And it then gives you thoughts of, you know, I don't know who these people are. Are they going to approach me at the game? Would they do it when I've got my kids with me? Would they get aggressive towards me? Would they scare my kids? Would it scare me? You know, what could it lead to? And to have those thoughts, going to a game that you know, going to watch football that you've done since you were 8 years old. You're taking your kids are loving it. To then have that fear about going, to wonder if you should go, because what if other people get involved? You know, what if the kids get scared? Just a nightmare. And I found, you know, something that I was so passionate about was actually becoming a bear bug in my life. It was, and sometimes I'd be sitting there going, don't know if I really want to go to the match today. But then I would go because that voice in my head saying, actually, I'm not letting them stop me from going. But I was always very aware of who was around me. Was anybody looking at me? And it does give you that kind of paranoia. I've had people come up and, you know, say abusive things at matches. Again, you know, got my kids there. I'm quite happy to say things back. That's just me. I'm going to stick up for myself. But I don't want my kids to be scared, and I don't want them to think football is a scary place to go to. Because they go, I find taking them, they kind of keep you grounded. They go to watch their team, win, lose or draw, you know, they still want to go. I found myself coming out of groups. I found myself not going to the supporters club before games, and basically just getting myself to the game. So that socialising part that was all part of my match day experience, that was taken away because I didn't know what was going to find there prior to the match. I just wanted to get in my car, quickly get into the ground, and then hopefully everything would be okay in the ground, and then back home. And it was the same with away matches. And I found I was kind of, sometimes you find yourself recoiling a bit, and you know, I'll always have a smile on my face. If I could have the weight of the world on my shoulders and I still have a smile on my face. But that was a really difficult time. And it's all just because of things people put on the internet, what they've emailed you, what they think they can say to your face because you are in this position. It doesn't matter what job anybody does, how much money they earn. And bear in mind, everything I did for the club, I did voluntarily, which made it a little bit worse. It doesn't matter what job people do or what money they earn, you know, they don't deserve personal abuse, and certainly not online. It's unacceptable. Just be kind to each other. And remember, if it wouldn't be acceptable to you, don't write it. Simple as. It's actually not that difficult. Don't make people feel like they have no other options in life, or they feel they've got nowhere to turn. And as much as you try and not look at social media and not look at what's being said about you, you find yourself looking at it even more. And it just it just puts you in a black hole, and it's a really horrible place to be. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I only had a few months left on my term. I could have just dragged it out and said nothing. But I think when you don't say anything, that's when you're just covering over the cracks and you're just covering over any issues that there are. When I resigned, it was so toxic, it was unbelievable. There is criticism and opinions. It's how you package those and make sure that they are not abusive or personal to anybody. It's quite as simple as that. It's not difficult, it's very easy. We had a semi-final, and for me that was the kind of final straw for me. My youngest was crying. Somebody behind us was very aggressive. The way they were shouting abuse to the manager, the players. It was horrendous, and she was crying. When you get to know these people as well, I find my kind of mothering side comes out. It's like, don't talk about them like that. They're human beings, just like us. And what gives you the right to make that person feel like shit? So I'm going to end it there, but as if everyone can just be kind to each other, if we can learn. It's a shame that tragic events make us think about these things, but you can see that on social media, nobody learns from it. You see people being offended about something somebody said, but they will go on and post something that is far more offensive or worse than the person that actually said the offensive thing in the first place. So it makes you know better. So just be kind to each other. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. I just really wanted to, it really struck a chord with me. I don't know Caroline Flack. I feel I've kind of, she's a little bit younger than me. I feel like I've kind of grown up with her, watched her quite a lot on the telly, felt she was quite relatable. But although I don't know her, it did strike a chord. Made me think how lucky I was. We might not have had Megan here. And I can't even begin to imagine what her parents are going through at this moment in time. But it did make me think about my experiences. I'm lucky I had a good support network around me. I've got good friends who have got my back, great family. And even though my husband doesn't support the same team as me, he's always very supportive. But even he could see that, you know, I'd kind of lost a little bit of my spark. And when it starts to change you as a person, you know that you have to do something about it. So as I say, be kind, think about what you're putting out there. It's there for everybody to see. If you've not got anything nice to say, just don't say it. Simple. Take care, everyone.